Hi, Ryan Kingsline here. I'm the founder of UArtsy, and one of the jobs I love doing the most is unlocking the artist inside of you so you can reach your full potential. And what I want to look at today is this idea of confidence in our art. What does it mean for us to be confident? And I'm not going to say I've got all the answers and I know exactly how this thing all plays out. I'm just the same as you. As I'm working and as I'm producing, I have my doubts, I have my questions. I look at some work that I've done in the past and I'm like, well, that didn't really do what I wanted. And then I get unsure about where I'm going to go in the future. Am I going to do oil painting, figurative landscape? How do all of these things work? How do I bring in all of the background that I have, right? Because as artists today, we're inundated with this just flood of possibilities. There's so many things we could do. So many things, whereas 100 years ago, for example, it wasn't so much of something we just kind of started to play with. It was literally something you decided to do for your life. It was something that you built into your life because that was going to be the way you made money. And now today, when what we're really looking at isn't survival, we're not focused on survival in the same way we were back then. We're focused more on thriving, on building a beautiful life. That is different and requires a whole different set of skills than I just need to get this done, I need to make it rain, I need to survive. And it's this separate set of skills that really starts to take us in a different direction. And it's a direction that, frankly, we haven't been very well prepared for, in my opinion, and we need to start to discover this today. So what does it mean to be confident in my artwork? What can that do for me? And what can I do? What does the future hold if I'm confident in my work? So the first thing I think we should do is try to dispel some illusions, right? Because the first thing that I've discovered in working with thousands of students that have gone through UArtsy is most people think that they need to really be hard on themselves in order to produce quality work. They think that if they get happy with what they're doing, usually they're disappointed. Tell me if this plays out for you. You're working on something and you're really excited about it, then you look at it the next day and you're like, that's kind of sucks. Does that happen to you? That happens to me all the time. But we have to be mindful of what's happening there, because if that's continually happening, what is it going to do to us? What is it going to do to us if every time we get happy about something, we then pair that unhappiness with disappointment, right? Transfer this out of your artwork and into something else, like a relationship. If you're routinely happy with the relationship and then routinely turns to disappointment or to bitterness or to, I wish I would have done better, that relationship's not going to last, is it? We already know it. Maybe that's a relationship pattern that we've been aware of for a while. It doesn't last. It doesn't scale. Your motivation is gone, okay? But sometimes we get stuck in these relationship patterns, and I'm talking about the relationship pattern where we're not entirely happy with it, but we think that it's the best we can do. And so we basically marry frustration. We get married to this idea that we deserve the frustration and that the frustration is going to lead us somewhere else, and it never does. The only way you get out of that relationship, and I'm talking about relationships here because it's not artwork, it's separate, but you see how it all kind of connects. We'll tie it in. But sometimes, and this has happened to me, this happens to guys, it happens to girls, we get stuck in these relationships that we feel are really what we deserve at that point. And maybe we don't deserve happiness, right? And, beyond getting in and exploring this idea of deserving happiness and what that means on an existential level or a psychological level, we can all agree that happiness is one of the reasons why we do this. Joy is one of the reasons why we do this. It's one of the things that gets us up and gets us motivated. And so when we are working, we need to learn how to be happy and unhappy with our work and have that be okay. And have that be normal. Happy and unhappy. It's like, for example, with kids. Now, some of you might have kids, some of you don't. But if you have children, or if you know parents who have children, you know that they are unhappy with those kids and they are happy with those kids. Maybe your parents, you're looking back and you're like, yes, they were unhappy and they were happy. But when they were unhappy, Did it seem like the universe was ending and it was all consuming? Well, that's what we do when we look at our work, we're happy one day, next day we get in and we're like, I hate this. And then we make a fundamental mistake. We tie that to our identity. We tie having to be happy about our work to, I'm an artist. I can be an artist. Okay? Instead of tying the process to it. So if every time I create, I'm supposed to be happy, it's supposed to be the best, it's supposed to be great, well, you know, it's not going to happen. It's a childish perspective, you know, and it's a perspective I understand, but it is ultimately a childish perspective. Your children want you to be happy with them all the time. You're looking for approval all the time. That's not going to work. Because your work, your artwork, the work behind me, the work behind you, all of this you're going to be unhappy and you're going to be happy with. And that is a journey that we need to marry. So we need to marry the process, not the end result. We need to get in and connect with process, not the end result. We need to accept that we're going to be unhappy, that we're going to be happy. And that both of these are normal, natural outcomes. And I'm going to give you one concept that's going to help you on this journey, right? I'm not just giving you this psychobabble talk. There's one really important tool that made a massive difference in my ability to accept happiness and unhappiness. And that is this concept. It's a concept in a group of psychological concepts called meta programs. So you can Google that. You'll find some stuff, some good, some bad stuff about that idea. But the great thing is this matcher-mismatcher mode. So Google that if you want to learn a little bit more about matcher versus mismatchers. And I found it enormously enlightening. When I first heard this concept, I was like, oh, I can totally understand it. I'm going to explain this concept in a second. But then when I saw it applied to my artwork, that's when everything changed. So we all know matchers and mismatchers. Basically, a matcher is somebody when you meet them, there's instant resonance. You're matching each other. You come up with an idea, hey, can we go over here? Yeah, if we go over there, then we can also hit this place and we can go over to the beach, we can get these things done. And then you just start riffing with that other person. And you're both in sync, simpatico, you're matching. Versus the mismatcher, where you say, hey, can we go over there? No, I've got a 10 o'clock, and if we go over there, it's going to be, 15 minutes in traffic, and then I won't be able to do this thing later on. Now that's not simpatico, that's mismatching, right? And we all know people that tend to mismatch. They tend to say no more often than they say yes. And of course, that's important, right? They would miss an appointment later on if they did this, and So we have to mismatch. We have to find the problems. We have to find the solutions and the cool ways that things can move forward. These are two things that you and I have to do in life. We have to match, we have to mismatch. But the problem is when we live in one zone. If all I'm doing is mismatching with my artwork, if I'm drawing and I'm like, the anatomy's wrong, the eye's wrong, this is wrong, and I'm like, this sucks, and now suddenly we go down this downward spiral. Mismatching is not a positive emotion. It's not necessarily negative, but it leads in that direction. And so if I'm mismatching, I need to fix this, I need to fix that, I need to do that, I should have used a different color in my artwork, I am mismatching, and that will take me down a different spiral than, oh yeah, well the eye's a little wrong, but the eye now starts to feel like this, and if I move it over here, then maybe the eye anatomy, and I'll be able to explore this, and maybe this is something that guy Lucian Freud did, right? And he kind of played with, we start to see what the potential is, and see how we can take this in a different direction. But both personalities exist inside us, and we need to be comfortable with these as different modes of operation. The inner critic inside us, you know him, right, or her, right? That person right behind you that's always talking, their dominant mode is mismatching, and that's because they're trying to keep you from embarrassing yourself, which is a noble goal. I don't want to embarrass myself posting something online. So it's nice to have that. But if that voice is the dominant voice at the table, like you're a company and you've got multiple people that are running this and part of it, right? You've got the CEO, you've got the CTO, you've got all these different people. And if everybody on your board is mismatching, well, your whole culture in your company is going to be mismatching. It's going to be negative. You're going to be looking for problems. In many ways, the CEO has to be the matcher. They have to find the way to make everything work, to build on even the problems. And some of us are great at doing that in some aspects of our life. We can solve these problems, we can find ways to do things, and we can build on the good and the bad, but then we get stuck being negative about our artwork. And we get stuck thinking that if it sucks, well then I suck, and then I can't do, and you go down this negative road where everything starts to tie to identity. That's when we've hit a wall. That's when this idea of confidence in our artwork just hits a wall and we are not able to go past it. So in this conversation, one of the first things I feel is really important, and again, I'm not sharing the one way to do it. I'm sharing this is my journey. I've been through this. I hit a massive creative wall 6 years back, 5-6 years back. I couldn't see through anything. Everything I created, I felt horrible about. And I felt horrible that I was the one who created it. And that was such a devastating spiral for me. It almost ruined my company. And it certainly ruined a good year or so of my life. But particularly one really dark month. It took me a while to figure my way out of that. So we need to learn, in my opinion, we need to learn how to take that negative critic who's seeing all these problems and mismatching, and we need to learn to give it context and a voice at the table, but not the head voice at the table. Not the one that's making all of the decisions, right? So when we're working and we're not happy, well, hey, welcome to life. We're not kids anymore, right? Not everything we do we have to be happy about. We have to work towards happiness, but we know that there's struggle in everything. And we're okay with that. So if I was to summarize this conversation and what I'm saying, because I start these conversations, I have no idea what I'm going to say. I just want to get in front of you and I want to talk and see if we can kind of discover something about this process. If I was to summarize this, I'd say the concept that really came forward for me is this idea of marrying frustration or marrying the process or marrying the result. And what you and I, in my opinion, what we want to do in my hypnosis is we want to marry the process for good or for bad. We want to be there for sickness and in health. We want to be there no matter what, because it's the process that produces everything. It is the process that gives us the joy, that gives us some bad, but also the joy. You can't get to joy without having that process. Yes, we come over here, we go over there, we go over here, but if all we did is we aimed at the end result and we said, I need to get there, and that's the only thing that's going to make me happy, I'm not going to be happy until I get there, you're going to be on for quite a dark journey, right? Which some of us are on, and some of us are committed to, and some of us have married, which is fine. Just marry the process, don't quit. Don't quit. Might be good, might be bad, but you and I's job on this road to creating artwork that we're happy with, to this road to building confidence in ourselves as artists, is to just not quit. Marry the process. All right, take care. Hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you soon.